All right, there have been a couple of questions regarding the AirVac unit. This would be the unit that uses the venturi system in order to create vacuum. In other words, it uses pressure to create vacuum. One of the questions that I'm getting is about the platform and the option for the beads. I'll pull this up just to show you, but there's a perforated platform here that is for conventional vacuum forming, but the question arises about what about the beads? So let me show you. If I pull this off, this is the perforated, and just lower this to give you an idea. There's a well here that has beads. These beads are used to build up around the model, and when we vacuum form, then it doesn't wrap all the way around the model. It vacuums only on the area selectively chosen above the beads. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If this was just a dental office was going to use splint material in order to vacuum form first over an impression, then remove a tooth and make a temporary, I'll give you that as an example first. I think that, or I'll give you that example. I think that will help illustrate best how this works. At the bottom of this well is a hole, and it has the same types of perforations as you would find here, except in between there and the top there are all these stainless steel beads. Now, I'll take this model and I'll submerge it. And what you're trying to do is don't submerge it so that the model sits right on top of the hole, because that won't work either. But basically take and build the beads up selectively around where you do not want the material to vacuum form. In other words, this way it won't go all the way to the base. And I'm just doing this for exampling purposes, but you can see I can move these around and get them built up where I want. Actually, I can submerge this even further if I'd like, just to get the beads up and around. Now you'll notice that some of the stainless steel beads catch up along this ridge. Take your finger, and as you move it, they will drop into the well. And the reason that I mentioned to do that is because if you don't get them all off of there, when you lift this frame to put your material in, they'll fall to the side, and it just gets messy. They drop off the ledge. What I do is I keep a magnet handy, and once I've lifted it, if any have fallen on the platform, this just picks them up real easy, and I don't have to worry about them dropping all over the place. So get yourself a magnet. Alright, so I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to grab a piece of coping material, just some O2O coping material, and I'm going to just illustrate again, just vacuum forming over a regular style model to make a temporary. And this would be in a clinical setting, not actually in a laboratory setting. I'll place this to the side. Worth mentioning also is the fact that the airline for the AirVac comes this way with a operatory quick connect. This is a very standard quick connect in the dental operatory. Obviously, if you're in a laboratory setting, you'll do like I do, and you'll make yourself a coupler. And basically, these parts are very readily available in a hardware store. And you'll connect yourself up then a coupler, which will then go into a quick connect. Mine happens to be on a countertop, and I can press it in, pull it out, and I can readily move the machine on and off of the countertop. It's just a nice added feature for me. The quick connect here, obviously, by pressing down, you can pull this on and off of any air system inside of an operatory. So with that being said, let me take and just plug this in over here. Give me 1 second. Alright, now that's been put in, and the air now will start is on this system. What I'll do is I'll turn this machine on, and this still operates the same way as the conventional motorized machine would, in the fact that the coil itself will heat up first. Again, I always keep the coil element away from the material at first in order for it to come up to heat, so that we can vacuum form in a way that has a baseline of heat. We don't want to be heating this platform up at the same time that the element's heating up. They're just doing it at the same time. I'd rather have this up to heat, and then we can go from then. Again, don't pull the element over the handles. I've mentioned this before, but it seems to be a sticking point with a lot of people, and that is, if you do, then you will heat up the phenolic handles and you'll end up burning your hands. about vacuum forming with the AirVac, one of the nice things, as I've mentioned in a prior videos, is the fact that it fits underneath the counter. It has a very small footprint, and it makes very little noise. That very little noise thing kind of freaks out people because they don't believe the machine has very much vacuum. But I can assure you that it does, and I'll illustrate that to you here in a second. And again, we're just going to let this come up to heat. Generally, we let it get up to about an orange, kind of an orange color. We wait about 45 seconds to a minute, minute and a half, someplace in there. In the meantime, I've got my coping material in the frame. It's in place, and we have the model buried. And again, we're letting this come up to heat. I'll even look under. I always like to check. With this material, with the lighter materials, it's not required that you vacuum form from the topmost position down when you get ready to vacuum form, but actually to take it about halfway down, turn on your air. And the cool thing is the air is just going to hiss a little bit, and then pull it from a shortened distance. And again, we'll look for the same type of indications visually and tactily when it's ready to vacuum form. So again, that's about right. I will pull it over here, and now the element is beginning to heat the material underneath. As I mentioned before, I don't use the droop factor as much as I use the tactile indication, and that is I can touch the material. I usually like to touch it around the outside and not directly in the middle, because the middle always gets hot. It's the edges that we're most concerned with that give us the indication that the material is thoroughly heated. This is beginning to droop. That looks good. Now what I do is this. I take it to about here, about halfway down, and then I turn this on and pull it. You'll notice, and you hear a little hissing. And again, what you'll see here is that the beaded area is blocked out, and really all your vacuum forming is the area above the beads. Now you can tell that is extremely low decibel level, and ideal for dental offices. And again, don't be fooled. Just because it's not hissing very much doesn't mean anything. It just means that it's quiet. It doesn't mean that it's not pulling that it's not pulling the adequate amount of vacuum. Now, you'll notice here on the outside perimeter that it still hasn't pulled all the way down, and that's okay, because again, we're selectively vacuum forming this area here. It doesn't mean that it hasn't vacuum formed correctly. It just means that it really, where it was warm in the center here is where it actually pulled, and that's fine, because the indication here is that we're going to do it around the teeth. Okay? Now, I'll turn off the element. It's as easy as just clipping it off like that. Something I also want worth mentioning to you is there's a rubber hose involved here on the back. You saw it earlier. It's attached to a connector. Make sure that you keep that something heavy on it and keep it down away from the element. It is a softer kind of vinyl hosing, and that hose will end up getting soft, and you could end up popping your connection. Actually, I did it when I first started using the vacuum, this AirVac machine, and the fact that it softened the hose enough that it popped off the connection. So keep that away from your element as much as possible. Even if you wanted to lay something on top of it to do so, that would work. Now, I just pull off that. I just want to show you. That's all the noise it makes right there. Pretty cool. Anyways, now that it's through, we can just take it, and I'll open it up, and I want to show you. This will get a little messy, and again, this is where the magnet would come in handy. Well, I didn't knock any off, so I must be getting better in my old age. Anyways, the model and a selectively vacuum formed area. Now temporaries can be made off of this in a dental office. Again, extremely quiet, low profile, an ideal application for a dental office. All right, I'll talk to you again soon. See ya.